So hello everyone, I welcome you all to this amazing platform of Knowledge Planet powered by Physics Wallah, and this is your math educator Shivangi Rajput, and in this particular lecture we are going to do our coordinate geometry in one shot. Yes, each and everything that we have to do is all the concepts, all the questions of this particular chapter will be covered in this particular one lecture. So let's begin with it and see our table of content. So over here we are going to start with the introduction of this topic, that what is coordinate geometry. After that we are going to start with the quadrants, and then we are going to start with how to plot the points that we have on your particular Cartesian plane. Then we will talk about the line parallel to the x-axis and the y-axis respectively. After that, the mirror image and points cutting the x and the y-axis. So these are few important topics from this particular chapter that we are going to study in detail in this one lecture. So let's start with the very first topic, right? So when we talk about coordinate geometry, first of all we have to understand that where do we actually use, what is the purpose of understanding the chapter that is coordinate geometry. So when we talk about coordinate geometry, it is the study of geometry using the coordinate points. Now what are these coordinate points? So wherever we have to locate a position, right? Now at this moment of time, we know that where is Bihar located, right, on the map of India. But when we talk about the coordinates of any point, any place in Bihar, so we will be talking about the latitudes and the longitudes, right? Now that is also placed by your points. So everywhere when we have to locate a certain point in a plane, that plane can be a land, in real life example it can be a place, right? So whenever we have to locate a point, students, we need to use the concept of coordinate geometry. Using coordinate geometry, it is possible to find the distance between 2 points, dividing the line m is to n in the ratio, the midpoint of it, calculating the area. So all these things can be done by our coordinate geometry and coordinate points. So that is why coordinate geometry is really very important as per real life implementation too. There are certain terms in Cartesian geometry that should be properly understood. Now, what are those terms? Let us study about those, right? So, first of all, it is a Cartesian plane. Now, what is a Cartesian plane, students? You have drawn graph from your respective x-axis and y-axis in your junior classes, right? But when we talk about the graphs in the senior classes, we also deal with the negative x-axis and a negative of y-axis, right? So when these two lines, that is respectively our x-axis and y-axis, intersect, and the plane on which they intersect form nothing but our Cartesian plane, right? So this horizontal line is known as your x-axis, the vertical line over here is known as the y-axis, and the point at which these 2 points intersect with each other is known as your origin, right? The positive side of the x-axis is called x, the negative side of the x-axis is called x dash, the positive side of the y-axis is called y, and the negative side is called as y dash. So these are certain specific terms that we need to take care in our Cartesian plane. This Cartesian plane is also known as your Cartesian plane and geometry, right? This is also known as the plane of intersection. So there are multiple names for this, but we will refer this plane as Cartesian plane. The next thing that over here we have is the move 2 units to the left. Now what is this negative x-axis? As we have understood in teachers, that if there are natural numbers, there is 0 whole numbers, and then there are negative numbers. So basically we can plot these negative numbers as well on our number line, right? Okay. Now this is particularly the horizontal movement. On the left side is your positive and on the right side it's your negative, and simultaneously above is positive and below is negative for the y-axis. So this is how you can use your Cartesian plane to plot any point that is given to you, right? The next thing that we have is the point at which the axis intersects is known as the origin. The center point, right? If I draw the x-axis as this and y-axis as this, so their point of intersection, students, is known as your what? Your origin of your points. And the coordinates, basically what are coordinates when we talk about? For example, in this plane only, I have drawn this one point, right? If I have to tell someone the location of this point, that means what? I have to choose two numbers. So every point on this two-dimensional plane comprises of two of the coordinates, one from the x-axis, that is the horizontal axis, and the other one from the y-axis, that is the vertical axis, right? So if I have to write down the points of this one point that I have drawn right now, what do we actually need? The point from the x-axis first of all. So we have to check at which point on the x-axis this point is lying down. So what we have to draw? We have to draw a straight line from this point and check that from x-axis, what is the location of this point from this respective x-axis? So this is 3. Now to the y-axis also, again it is 3. So basically the coordinates of this particular point turns out to be 3, 3. For example, if I have drawn a point like this over here, first of all, I know that if I have to locate the coordinate, that means what? I have to locate what? The x-axis and the y-axis, the distance, right? From here it is 1, as I can straight away draw a line like 1. So this will be 1. From here it is 5. On the y-axis it's 5. So the location of this particular point on our Cartesian plane will be respectively 1 and 5. I hope this is clear with everyone. So this is how we locate, this is how with the help of coordinates, right, the points, we locate any particular thing that is present on our Cartesian plane. The next thing we have, alright, so as I have told you that there are 2 points that we have to take. One is on the x-axis, the other one is on the y-axis. Now the point which is present on the x-axis is known as abscissa, right? If for example, I have to locate this point, there is a point over here, right? And I have to write down the coordinates of this point, students. So I have to see that where on the x-axis it is lying. So x point will be 2. Where on the y-axis it is lying. So y-axis point will be 3. Now this 2, since it represents the point on the x-axis, this is known as the abscissa of your particular coordinate. 2, 3 is the coordinate, and if the question comes like what is the abscissa for this, so simply what we can say that abscissa for this particular point is nothing but just the point which is there from the x-axis, and that is your 2. So we can say respectively 2 is what is your point. The next thing that we have is on the y-axis, right? The point, this 3 is from the y-axis, students. This y coordinate is known as what? Your ordinate, right? Remove the co. So on the x-axis, the point is called abscissa, and on the y-axis, the point is known as your ordinate. I hope these 2 terms are clear, right? One is axis. 2 axes are used over here, so we will use AXES, that is the plural of axis, right? Okay, so now the question comes, find the coordinates of the point M, B, S and L. Alright, so we have to find the coordinate of M, B, S and L. Alright, so over here this is M. The very first thing we have to check that where in the plane is it lying on the x-axis. So this is M, straight line is at 3, minus 3 in fact. So the x coordinate, that is the abscissa of M point, is negative 3. Now we have to check it on the 4, right? On the y-axis it is 4. So the coordinate of this particular point M will result in minus 3, 4. Similarly, we can go ahead with B. Now, where is B in the plane? Over here, right? First of all, to the x-axis, it is 4, and to the y-axis, it is 3. So, the point will be 4, 3, right? For the S point now, where is S? Over here. First of all, on the x, students, it's 3, and on y, it is negative 4. So, its point is 3, negative 4. And for L, student, it is minus 5 on the x and minus 4 on the y. So, points become minus 5 and minus 4. So, this is how for any point that is given to us on the Cartesian plane, we can simply draw what? We can simply write down the points and also draw the points if the coordinates are provided to us, right? Okay, now write the coordinates of the points marked on the axis, right? So first of all, over here, I can see few points like this E is there, this A is there, this B is there, this C is there, and this D is there, right? 5 points are there in front of us. Let us start naming them. All right, since I can see that all these points are lying down on respective axes, they are not lying down somewhere in this plane or in this plane, in this plane or in this plane. No, they are lying down significantly on the axis itself, right? So listen to me very carefully. Let us talk about this point A, right? This point A is lying on the x-axis. This point A is lying on the x-axis, and whenever there is a point lying on a particular axis, the other axis coordinate becomes 0. For example, if this point is lying on the x-axis, right? So we can see that the coordinate on the x-axis is 4. Now y, like this is the y-axis, and this point is lying over here, that is 0. So y will become 0. So this point will become 4, 0, and y 0 because there is no number on the y-axis which represents this point. Let me talk about B. This B is lying on the y-axis. So if I have to check point on the x-axis, that will become 0, and y is 3, so the ordinate will become 3. So from here we can say that any point which is lying on the y-axis, the abscissa is 0. Any point which is lying on the x-axis, the ordinate is 0. I hope this thing is clear with everyone. Let's talk about point C. Since it is lying on the x-axis, abscissa is -5, ordinate is 0. Since this D point is lying on the y-axis, abscissa is 0, y coordinate, that is ordinate, is -4, and for this E point, as it is lying on your x-axis, so the x will be something and y will be 0. So this is the difference. See, for any point which is lying on the plane, this plane, the areas between two axes, so they will have some abscissa and some ordinate. But when the points are lying on the respective axis of your Cartesian plane, either x or y will be 0 depending on which axis the point is located. If it is located on the respective x-axis, so your y coordinate will be 0. If it is located on the y-axis, so your x coordinate will be 0. So this is how you are going to do it. Alright, how will you describe the position of a table lamp on your study table to another person? There are multiple ways, right? For example, you have a study table, right? This is your study table, and over here you have a lamp. For example, over here, right? For example, over here you have a lamp. Right? Okay. Now to denote this position to someone, you can, in daily life, you can say that this table lamp is located on the extreme, left of my table. This is located on the upper right corner. This is located on the upper left corner. So these are all the things that you can choose. But again, telling it to someone, it will be quite difficult for that person to understand the exact location. So that is why coordinate geometry is important, students, so that you can locate any point very easily. And for the other person also, see, there has to be a standard way of saying it, right? If this is known as a bottle, and if I'm saying to someone that I need a bottle, so he should understand it with the picture and the word that what I'm asking for. For example, if I'll go in some other country and their language is different, and if I say bottle, they won't be able to understand it, right? Because we don't have a standard language worldwide. So basically what is the point here is to get one such thing for locating any point on the globe, you can say, or on the paper, you can say, so that it is understandable by each and every one. The next. Alright, so see the figure below and complete the following statement. The abscissa and the ordinate of point B are dash and dash. So this is the right, we have to take the point B. So it is saying the abscissa and the ordinate, that is x coordinate and y coordinate respectively. So x coordinate is 4, y coordinate is 3. So it will become 4, 3. As simple as that, right? So basically the abscissa is 4 and the ordinate is 3. The abscissa and ordinate of the point B are this and this respectively. Hence the coordinate of B, that is the same statement. Again it's 4 and 3, right? 4 and 3. The x coordinate and the y coordinate of the point L are dash and dash. Let's look for point L. This is the point L. The abscissa is x coordinate, the ordinate is y. So minus 5 and minus 4, it is minus 5 and minus 4. So the coordinates are minus 5 comma minus 4. The coordinates are written in one single bracket with a comma separating both of them, right? Okay, let's move forward. What is the name of horizontal and the vertical line drawn to determine the position of any point on the Cartesian plane? See students, how to remember this. Now, there are some people who get confused in horizontal is which one, this or this, vertical is this one, this or this. So, how to remember it, right? So, first of all, horizontal starts from the letter H, vertical from V, right? H and V. So, simple thing which I am telling you, in your horizontal, you can see a line like this. In horizontal, you can see a line like this. So, a line like this is horizontal and this line is x-axis. So, horizontal, this. Try to remember it from this. And vertical is straight this. Right? So, try to remember it from this part, horizontal and vertical. So, the horizontal line, students. If I talk about the horizontal line, so as we can see, the horizontal comprises of this. That means this line is the horizontal one. That means the x-axis is the horizontal one. Whereas when we talk about the vertical line, students, so the remaining line, that is the y-axis, is your vertical line. I hope this thing is clear with everyone, right? Okay. What is the name of each part of the plane formed by these two lines? Now, this is important. Try to understand. Let's see. Right? For example, we have one x-axis with us, right? And one y-axis with us. Alright, so we have x-axis with us and y-axis with us. So basically, as I can see that this x-axis and this y-axis has separated this one single sheet into four equal parts, right? And what are those 4 equal parts, student? One is this one, other one is this part, third part and the fourth part. So these two lines, these two axes has splitted the whole plane into what? 4 equal parts, and these 4 equal parts are known as your quadrants. Right? These are known as your quadrants. So the very first, this one is known as your first quadrant, students. This one is known as your second quadrant. This one is known as your third quadrant. And this one is known as your fourth quadrant. So these are the different quadrants that we have when these two axes intersect each other and split the plane into 4 parts, right? Now, all these 4 quadrants have specific sign for the points that are coming in their particular region. For example, listen to me. Just listen to this very carefully. This is the first quadrant, right? This first quadrant is comprised by the line this and this. As we can clearly see, this line and this line comprises your first quadrant, and as we can say that this particular part of this axis is positive, this particular part of this axis is also positive. So any point, student, which is lying in the very first quadrant will have both the x coordinate and the y coordinate as positive. Now look at the second quadrant. Second quadrant comprises of this line and this line, right? So this line of x-axis is negative. This part of y-axis is positive. So any point that is coming in the second quadrant will have the x coordinate as negative and y coordinate as positive. Similarly, this is the negative of x. This is also the negative of y. So the third quadrant will have all the points that are both negative, and for the fourth quadrant we have what? That your x is positive and y is negative. So these are the respective sign that all the points which are coming in these quadrant will anyhow have. Right? Let's move forward. Name the part, write the name of the point where these two lines intersect. So these two lines, let us say this one first. So basically the question answer is quadrants, right? The next question, the point of intersection. If there is an x-axis and the y-axis, so this point of intersection, student, is known as the origin. That is, the coordinates of origin is 0, 0. Right, let's move forward. Now plotting a point in the plane if its coordinates are given. For example, you have a point that is A and its coordinate is -3, 4. X is negative, y is positive. The very first thing that you have to decide x is positive, x is negative, y is positive. Now x is negative, y is positive, so we should click it in mind that that point will lie in the second quadrant, right? So over here x is -3, from here y is +4, it will intersect here. See, x is -3, so draw a line like this. Y is 4, draw a line like this. Wherever these two lines intersect, this is the point that is -3, 4. For example, we have a point that is, for example, -1, 4. That is, x is negative, y is positive. And if x is negative and y is positive, that point will lie down in your respective fourth quadrant. So x is -1. It will lie in your second quadrant again. Let us say this is +4 and -4, +1 and -4, right? So +1 is this, -4 is this, the point will lie in the fourth quadrant. So this is how we locate the point in the given Cartesian plane that is in front of us, right? Okay. Let's see this question. Plot the following points, ordered pairs. Now see, x and y are also known as your coordinates and your ordered pair, right? So number x and y, you scale 1 centimeter. All right. Now this is x, this is y, this is x, this is y, this is x, this is y, and we have to plot this. -3, 7. All right. So x is -3, y is 7. X is -3, y is 7. Somewhere will lie over here, right? X is 0, y is -3.5. X is 0. That is over here, and y is -3.5. So it will lie somewhere here. Then we have -1 and -3. That will lie somewhere here, right? Then we have 4, 4. Both are positive in the first quadrant here. Then we have x positive, y negative. That is in the fourth quadrant. So this is how we just locate the points that are given to us on the plane that we have, right? Okay. Let's see the next thing. We have already located them, right? Okay. In which quadrant or on which axis do you think the point this lie? All right, let us see how can we say. So the first point, x is negative, y is positive. X negative, y positive is in the second quadrant. Then we have x positive, y negative. This is in the fourth quadrant. Then we have -1, 0. X is something, y is 0. So this will lie down on the axis, not in any other quadrant. And on which axis? Negative x-axis, right? Then we have 1, 2, both are positive. So in the first quadrant, both are negative. So in the third quadrant. So simply we can see by looking at the sign of the points that are coordinates that are given to us, we can simply tell that in which particular quadrant they will be lying. The next thing, line parallel to a given line. All right. So for example, this is your x-axis and this is your y-axis. So when you will be drawing, certain lines, for example, you have drawn a line that is in this format, right? And you can see that this line is parallel to the y-axis. You can clearly see that this particular line is parallel to your y-axis. And for example, if I draw any other line that is there, for example, this line, and you can see that this pink line is parallel to your x-axis, right? So basically, we can see that any point which is on this particular line is is changing the y but the x is constant. Is changing the y but the x is constant, right? We can see that over here the y is 1, this point, then the x is 2. Over here the x is again 1 and the y is 1 and this is 2. Over here the x is again 1 but the y is 3. Over here the x is again 1 but the y is 4. So we can see that the x is constant throughout and the y is changing. That means this line is parallel to your simply what y-axis, and for any line which is parallel to y-axis is of the form x equals to a. Is of the form x equals to a. Why? Because y is changing and y is not there, right? So we can add up 0y, and after adding up with 0y we can put different values of y and then can check the answer, right? And similarly to a line parallel to x-axis, the equation is of the form y equals to b, where a and b can be any number that is given to you. So this is how you can say any line parallel to your y-axis is of the form x equals to a. Any line which is of the form that is parallel to your simply x-axis is of the form y equals to b. I hope this thing is clear with everyone. Let's move forward and talk about mirror image. Alright, for example, every day you wake up, you get in front of mirror to get ready for schools, right? So what does that mirror do? It actually reflects your image. It actually do what it actually just tells you, right? From even if you are standing like, for example, 3 centimeter apart, right? For example, 3 centimeter apart, if you are standing, for example, if this is your mirror, right? If this is your mirror and you are standing over here, so your image will also be somewhere same distance apart, right? Now, what is this mirror image when we talk about the coordinate geometry? Like, listen to me, students. For example, this is your x-axis or y-axis and this is your x-axis. Right. Now, in this simple case, what I can say is, for example, if a point is located here and this point is 2, 3. If I ask you to calculate the mirror image of this point on y-axis, now first of all, you have to check that which of the axis is acting as a mirror. I said y-axis, so this y-axis, student, will act as a mirror. Now this point which was here now be located simply here after reflection, and when you know that it was in the first quadrant, if it is reflected from this line, it will come in this quadrant, that is the second quadrant. And in the second quadrant, any point that you have, in the second quadrant, any of the point that you have is of the form -2 and 3, that is x negative, y positive. So this is how simply you can say the mirror image. Now, for example, if there is a point, which is located over here, right, and this point is 4, 5. I asked you to calculate its mirror image on the x-axis. Now, for this point, this is the x-axis. So, this will act as a mirror, student, and the point which was here will be located here in the first quadrant, and all the points in the first quadrant have their both the coordinates as positive. So, simply this is how we can do the mirror image for any of the point that is provided to us, right? And if this is not specified in the question, for example, you have a point over here that is 7, 8, -7, -8 as it is in the third quadrant. Now, in the third quadrant, students, if it is said simply that we need a reflected thing for this, right? It is just saying show the mirror image. Now, it is not specified that the x-axis is acting as a mirror or the y-axis is acting as a mirror. So, basically what we have to do, we have to take both the lines acting as a mirror. This line also and this line also, because this point can be reflected from this part, this point can also be reflected from this part. So, this line over here will become -7, 8 as it is in the second quadrant now, so x will be negative, y will be positive. Now this is in third quadrant. If it is reflected from y-axis, it will come over here, and in this quadrant your x is positive and y is negative. So you can show the reflected mirror image on both the quadrants if it is not specified that which particular axis is acting as a mirror, right? Next thing that we have, points cutting x-axis and y-axis. As I have already mentioned about this, this is the x-axis, this is the y-axis. Alright, if for example there is any line which is going through this. For example, see, when we plot the points, right, we get a straight line somewhat if the points are for the one simple equation. Right, for example, we got this line, right, and we can say that this line is cutting the x-axis. What we can say that this line is simply cutting the x-axis, students. And if it is cutting the x-axis, it means there comes a point over here when it is lying only on the x-axis. If I talk about only this green point, so this green point is lying on the x-axis. And if it is lying on the x-axis, so its y has to be 0. So this point will be of the form x comma 0. Right? So in that particular equation, we can directly put y as 0 and we can get the answer for x. Now if the equation reverses and we get a line which is cutting y-axis. And if I have to write down the coordinates of this point at the point of intersection, students, so we can clearly see that this is lying on the y-axis and any point on the y-axis has its abscissa as 0 and y as some number. Right? So whenever the lines are cutting, you should be specific that on the point of intersection, which coordinate will be equivalent to 0. Right? Okay, now without plotting the points, indicate the quadrant in which they will lie. The ordinate is 5 and the abscissa is minus 3. That is, the x is minus 3 and the y is plus 5. X negative, y positive is only possible in the second quadrant. Right? The next thing that we have, abscissa is minus 5 and ordinate is negative 3. So when abscissa is negative 5 and ordinate is negative 3, both are negative, students. So it will simply lie in quadrant 3. The next we have is abscissa is minus 5 and ordinate is 3. That is negative 5 and 3. X is negative, y is positive again in the second quadrant. Then we have abscissa as 5 and ordinate as 3. Abscissa is 5, ordinate is 3, both are positive, right? And when both are positive, they lie in the very first quadrant. I hope this thing is clear with everyone. Alright, the next we have is the coordinates of B. Alright, where is point B? Here is point B, students. First of all, check on the x, negative 3. Then check on the y, negative 5. Negative 3 comma negative 5, that is option number A will be the correct answer. Next question says, the point identified by the coordinates 2 comma minus 4. This means what? Which of the points among these have the coordinates as 2 comma negative 4. So 2 comma negative 4, here is your 2, right? X is 2, y is negative 4, over here it is there, and the point is G. So option number C will be the correct answer. The next we have the abscissa of point D, students. Where is point D? This. The abscissa is simply the point on the x-axis and that is 6. Right? Okay. Next we have the coordinates of the point H. Here it is H. On the x, it is negative 5. On the y, it is negative 3. We have to check for the ordinate, that is the y coordinate, and it is negative 3. The next we have the coordinates of the point L. Over here is the L. L is lying on the y-axis. That means its x coordinate will be 0 and y coordinate will be 5. So 0 comma 5 will be the correct answer for this question. Let's move forward and see the next question. Alright, the coordinates of the point M. Over here it is M, right? This is the point M. and it is lying on the negative side of the x-axis, but it is lying on the axis, so we can simply say that in this particular part its x will be minus 3 and its y will be 0. So negative 3 comma 0, option B will be the correct answer for this question. The next part, if the coordinates of a point are 0 comma minus 4, 0 comma minus 4, that means x is 0, y is something, so it will lie. If y is something, it will lie on the y-axis only, that is option B. If the coordinates of a point are this, then it lies in. This is your homework question, and please comment down the answer if you get it, and if you have any problem from this chapter, you can tell me in the comment section, right? So this is your homework question, students, please do it, right? And this was all for the lecture. This is a small easy peasy chapter for you, and I hope that all the concepts are extremely clear with you. If you have any doubts, feel free to write down in the comment section, and I'll see you in the very next one shot. Till then, take care. Have a great time ahead. Bye-bye.